Kevin Wilson Show, live from Carmona's Cantina in Terrell, Texas. We are here, and you talked a little bit about Mount Pleasant, not just the varsity level, but all the levels that play Mount Pleasant.
The freshmen had a pretty good game. I guess, in fact, you had two freshman games, and the JV had a come from behind victory against Mount Pleasant. So, Coach, why don't you talk a little bit about the freshmen and the JV?
Well, of course, the freshman B team, I think their game was a little bit more one-sided. I think they fought pretty well, but I think they came out 14-0. The freshman A team was a pretty thrilling game. They go into halftime, they're down 15-0. They come back and go up 26-15, and they wind up losing it there at the end of that football game. And it was, to hear Coach Davis tell it, it was one of those games where, it's almost like we waited too long to get started. I heard that story before. And once they got started, it's almost like they ran out of gas there at the end. So, but that happens, when you take a team of 40 or so boys, you split them up, and you put, 19 or so on one team, 17 or so on another team, that number of kids that you have a lot of kids going both ways and know a lot of things on both sides of football. But it wound up, again, showing, some of the progress that those kids are making. The JV game, which was, again, just as thrilling. Coach Sandoval, he basically, the way he tells it, they only have one guy that they really need to stop, and they wind up stopping him at the right time. Of course, our offense, we threw a gimmick play on them and kind of surprised them, and wound up scoring for us. But there were a lot of kids that played a lot in that game, and they built a lot of confidence in that game because, again, it was a team that pretty much beat up on them pretty heavily last year. And the JV team, the only thing I can say about them is they're 3-0 right now, and they fought it tooth and nails at first, kind of with how we were doing practices because it required them to go up against our varsity. Pretty much 80% of their entire practice week was going up against the varsity football team, but it wound up playing dividends for them on Thursday. If they can go up against some of the guys that they play against, we practice, Wyatt White, to Van Whelan, to Antonio Harris, and Eric Roberts, those type of players that they see, running the scout team. Thursday night's team a little bit more fun because there's kids more along their size and speed. So it's been pretty good. Last week was a pretty good week for our sub-varsity.
Good. Well, I'm going to try to know. Todd Jorgensen is the king of statistics for Dennis and I because he is the guy that brings literacy to the radio booth.
And the
Carmonas. So here, but I'm going to pose something to you, and I want you to forget the score. I know you've tried to do that already. I want you to forget everything about it. I just want you to listen to this. Michael Nelson, 17-31, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. If you just heard that by itself, what would you think?
I would think that's a pretty good outing. I would think that would be a pretty solid outing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. We had some trouble running the football. They packed the line of scrimmage, and they were, they put it on us right there.
They put it on us.
But I think that there's a little bit of growth there for a youngster that had to come in and replace a true team leader in a senior.
True, and then that's what I told Michael after the game. Of course, it's kind of funny, we get back to the dressing room, and I go around, and talk to all the kids, and get to Michael, I kind of hug him, so I'm not proud of him. He's like, Coach, you started pointing all these different parts of the body that were hurting. I said, Michael, that's what playing 4 quarters of a Friday night football game is all about. And, just to see us actually have, to best way I can put this is to see our offense at times move, and to know that, you know, the work that we've been putting in on it, to see it actually be executed against a pretty good defense. Definitely we're going to see better, but it was exciting, and to know that for Michael to come in to replace a leader, a football player that Cameron is to our team, and for him to come in and take the reins, per se, and generate offense, it's a huge plus. It's a huge step in the right direction. The running game, I think, is going to actually open up a little bit, just because of the threat of Michael being able to get out of the pocket last game. You know, we're going to take a guy or two out of the box. He just didn't do it all with his legs. I mean, Michael threw the ball well, considering, you know, some of the pressure. And so get some of those guys out of the box is going to allow for us to, you know, open up the running game. So that's definitely what the hope is. That's kind of where we're heading.
I want to let Todd say something, but I want to come back to something that he said just a minute ago back in.
Well, Coach, what I was going to say, you told me earlier in the week, and I think it's true, and I really hadn't thought of it, but that really was last week the best overall offensive game that you guys have had since you've been here. And I think that's probably true, certainly in terms of points and in terms of consistently moving the ball. There were some things there to build on.
Right, and again, you know, the downside of it all is you know, I think, you know, with the first drive, our first offensive drive, you know, it was all right. We moved the stick, we moved the chain, we moved the sticks a little bit, and then it was, bam, we shot ourselves in the leg, false start, and then it was, you know, I kind of felt like the offense showed up, and then it was, you know, we wound up shooting ourselves in the foot, wound up having a punt. Of course, they're big plays on our first offensive drive, but it's, you know, I feel good. And then here comes the special teams, you know, just breakdown, total breakdown, and then the momentum left. And then it wasn't until later on, you know, after halftime, the offense was like, okay, let's go back to doing what we know, our game plan, and then allowing ourselves to generate some offense, and it was good. You know, I just hated that it came so late, and that we couldn't come out and execute the way that we had planned. We couldn't come out and execute the way that we had planned on.